Do you expect growth to hit that? I know some on the side of the Indian government are looking for growth that's even stronger this year.
Yes, we hope to have a growth which is stronger than what the latest reconciled figures of IMF would show. We are making enough efforts to make sure the economy remains buoyant. But the other factor which worries me is also the possible recession in the Western developed economies, because I see that the possibility of recession setting in.
In that vein, I'd like to ask you broadly about Infosys, tech bellwether, second largest software services firm in India. I don't want to ask you specifically about their earnings, but their revenue estimate fell far short of what was expected. And they're citing customers in key sectors like finance pulling back, unplanned project ramp downs, delays in decision making, which all resulted in lower revenues. They say signs of stabilization in March, but the environment remains uncertain. Is that a sign that concern you have about global recession and some of even the banking turmoil, all the things that have been happening are starting to manifest themselves, and certainly in this one very important Indian firm?
Not just the firm, even the manufacturing. If this is service sector that you're referring to, yes, they are voicing concerns. The service sector and its problems are also because there is a lot of reset happening. One of the descriptions that you've read out is that where they are trying to redesign their business models and also focus on newer areas where service sector can expand. So there is a reset, and the impact of the reset is also something which the industry is having to face now.
Another big issue for the last year or so for many countries is central bank rate hikes. Some countries more aggressive than others, but nevertheless, the Reserve Bank of India surprised. They paused. They didn't hike rates when they could have. And is it warranted?
There is a reasonable justification to pause now. And although along with the pausing, they've also given fairly hawkish observation of how inflation can conduct or behave itself. So they're keeping a very close eye, but it was a sense of relief with which the Indian economy, at least the business leaders, welcomed this pause of the central bank. I also think it's also because if central banks, wherever they are, for their respective countries, if they are able to assess for themselves their own economies, pluses and minuses, and completely, not really completely, somewhat decouple themselves from the Fed, I think countries can take a call which can help growth momentum, which is so required for each one of them. But of course, it has to be based on the situation in the ground.
These aggressive rate hikes by the Fed necessitated, some say, by the fact that they started the inflation fight perhaps tardily?
No, I'm not questioning the decision of Fed.
Okay.
I'm only talking in as much as the synchronized way in which every central bank responded.
Fiscal target 5.9% for the current fiscal year. If revenue growth slows and privatization doesn't, pick up some steam, how will you be balancing your spending priorities?
No, I think the glide path that we gave during the COVID time, when consciously we had a very high deficit because we had to borrow, the lockdown has resulted in the economy slowing down, going into the negative terrain and all that. But we've been careful, and the fiscal deficit has been duly aligned with the glide path given. So we're not exceeding it, no, we're not breaching it. And we hope to continue that way.